All right, and we are live. We are on Bigfoots Pad Live. On today's show, I guess I'm going solo today. I have the UFO Bros on today. I have Emmett and Joe. They are a new breed of UFO investigators. They do serious UFO investigating with a little bit of comedy involved there, and they kind of let their personality show a little bit rather than the usual, I guess, however you want to word it.
Yeah, the usual super serious is
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They go, and then the UFO crashed.
yes.
And
We don't have the white hair and the
yeah,
we're a new generation, I guess. We want to have a good time with it and have fun. And Joe and I, we're always the point of this whole thing for us is to have a good time, but
Yeah.
also experience the mysterious, the high strangeness of this whole topic.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna have you guys introduce yourselves in just a second, but before we do that, I was gonna tell you guys. So I normally have my brother and our best friend on here with me, but my brother, he ended up having to go to work today, and my other friend, I don't know what his deal is, but so I guess I'm going solo today.
It happens.
Yeah. So um, I'll have you guys talk a little bit about yourselves, and then I'll tell you a little bit about me because we kind of need to for the interview. So I hate to ask you the question that everyone asks you on every single interview you ever do, but I'll have you guys introduce yourselves, or if you want to introduce for you and your brother, however you want to do it.
Yeah, well, I'm Emmett, and that's Joe, and we're the UFO Bros. And we're
Sometimes.
the investigators of the phenomenon. So what we do is we go out to all the most amazing UFO hotspots, crash sites, and we investigate and we see if anything's left behind or if we can get similar experiences that other people have had at UFO hotspots. We also, partake in sky watches. We've taken Demi Lovato out on a sky watch. And that was probably one of the most amazing experiences. There's something about everybody having the same energy and going out and being open to having an experience. And we did, which you can see on Peacock. It's called Unidentified with Demi Lovato. We're in the very beginning of it, about the first 15 minutes. You'll be able to see some of the experiences that we've had that was actually captured on camera. And we're also, we're really good colleagues with a lot of people in this field that are making strides unlike, ever before. And so what we're trying to do is bring it to the masses in a fun, natural, normal way, and get people interested in this that otherwise think that people that have experiences and see things are crazy, or that they're just, some guy, in a farmhouse in Roswell, with a pickup truck and a dog that's outside drinking and have, that's not us. We go there, we do it, we see some amazing things. And being a part of this podcast, first of all, we're really excited to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, so a little bit about me really quick, because I know one of the main reasons I wanted to bring you on was because you guys looked into the Needles, California UFO crash. And of course, I've been doing the Ely, Nevada UFO crash stuff since I first turned 18, and I'm 33 now. So I had to think about that for a minute. Yeah, so I've been doing that for about, 15 years or so? And so we used to have a podcast on Blog Talk Radio back in the old days where it was audio only before the whole video podcast thing took off. And we had one of the most popular shows on the whole website. Well, we kind of, once the video thing caught on, we kind of fell off the radar for a while. And then we just started this show up about 2 months ago. So we're kind of just starting out in a sense with this show. But we have, at the moment, we're doing pretty well as far as like the downloads, watching it after it appears live. We're doing pretty good with that.
Great, man.
So about me a little bit. So my name's Jeremy, of course. I belong to a group called Bigfoots Pad Paranormal out of Las Vegas. It's me, my brother, and our best friend for pretty much our whole lives, our best friend. And we do the whole ghost hunting thing. We do like the Bigfoot trips and all that kind of stuff. But I would say around 2008, my grandmother lived in a town called Eureka, Nevada. And Eureka, Nevada is kind of in northeast. It's the next town over from Ely. And she was a school teacher up there. And we were doing our old radio show. And I guess her or one of her coworkers listened to the show. and after the show was done, I guess there's a guy, his name was Wally, and Wally was the librarian in town. The town only has like a couple hundred people that live there, so like everyone knows everyone. So Wally Cochise was his name. He actually told my grandmother that he was there when the UFO crashed, and he's dead now, of course, but this was back in like the early 2000s.
Damn it!
Yeah. So anyway, so one thing led to another, and my grandmother introduced me to all these people that either knew something or knew someone. I had written George Knapp when we first started out, and George Knapp said I was chasing a myth and I would never find anything. So he basically told me to F you. So I ended up putting this huge story together with like 100 witnesses. So I kind of gave him the finger back, I guess. So anyways, so now that you know a little bit about me and kind of the things that I've been doing, before we get into needles, I have a couple of things I'm going to ask you guys first. We're going to start off with something a little bit more, something I think you guys will have fun with. The Raid Area 51 show that you guys did for Discovery.
Yes.
So I was trying to watch that yesterday. I couldn't find it anywhere unless you wanted to subscribe to Discovery. Was that ever on like regular TV or?
Yeah, it aired on Travel Channel.
Because I saw the Demi Lovato one, and I've watched like some of your Probecast episodes and things, but I couldn't watch that one. I saw some clips of it. So the first thing I wanted to ask was, so how was it? What was it like being out there? Because I live in Vegas, and I was kind of scared to go up there. I knew it was going to be super crowded, is what I was thinking.
I have never seen so many people in my life, like just for one event and just for one. Yeah. It was crazy. Just the whole experience itself
mm-hmm.
to me was breathtaking, because all these people get together. They're all there for one reason. We're all there for one reason, you know?
Yeah.
And it was the coolest party I've probably been to.
So did you guys go to like the research center and go down to Rachel and go to the gate and all that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We've actually been to Area 51 before. We went,
mm-hmm.
It was kind of part of our first UFO Bros expedition. And that was back in 2016.
Yeah.
And we went there, and we went to the Alien Research Center. And by the way, if you haven't been to the Alien Research Center, I highly recommend. They now have an exhibit that's super cool that you can.
I've never been in that one. Then it's the one by Heiko. I've never been in that one, but I've been in the Alien a million times though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even really. Yeah.
We went there. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I know. I was just gonna say something random. I was like, last time we were there, we were eating was an alien burger or whatever. We looked outside and there was a homeless. I think he was homeless. It's like trying to open the doors to all the cars. He's like pulling on the door handles, see if they open on every single car in the parking lot. And
just see what he could get.
I remember eating my burger and watching this guy trying to get in our car last time we were there.
There's always some great experience there. We went there. So when we first went I'll get into it's called Storming Area 51 on Discovery Plus is what it's called. Yeah. And but the very first time we went on a dime, man. We got in Joe's Explorer, and because it was about Expedition. How far away? Oh, that's right, your Expedition.
It was like 22-hour drive.
Yeah, something like that.
You guys live in Northern California or Southern or
middle?
Middle. Yeah.
Well, I'm in NorCal. Joe's from Oregon. But at the time we were coming from Sacramento, and we showered at truck stops, and we slept in Joe's Expedition, and we ate only at the Alien, the little Alien. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a little, I don't know how to even explain. It's like
a bar, cafe, souvenir shop,
plus hotel.
Yeah.
If you want to stay in a trailer. I actually stayed out in one of those trailers just to see what it was like a few years ago, and it was kind of scary.
Yeah, it is so dark out there. So you have to be careful if you go out there, because there are cows that come in the middle of the road, and you could be driving in pitch black, and then all of a sudden there's a freaking cow. So it's definitely very off the beaten path, and it's beautiful too. So we went there, and we went to the front gates and the back gate, we've been to both of the primary gates, and what's really truly amazing is the technology they have at the gates, because they're always watching you, and they have these robots, I guess you could call them. They look kind of like Wall-E, from the Disney Pixar movie, and the cameras, they'll follow you as you walk back and forth, up and down. They've got their eye on you. So we were, of course, we mooned them and had a dance party in front of them. Or Joe Joe did his break dancing for the security guards, and we got a peace sign and a thumbs up. So that was about as close as we've gotten to Area 51.
Yeah. So did you guys see like any freaks and weirdos out there during the event? I'm guessing you did, right? I'm assuming.
Oh, there's tons.
So all freaks and weirdos. I mean, we saw, people dressed up as aliens, the people in the dancing, like the blow up alien disguise where it looks like there's an alien walking around with them. And even researchers, people dead serious that were really expecting something to happen. So it was pretty much the full spectrum, but it was, like Joe said, like the biggest party on the planet.
There's a video that came out recently. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I guess they put some kind of sensors on the ground, like not the sensors where they could detect you, like the ones that have been out there forever, but I guess they put some like far away from the borderline so they could see you coming. And I guess some old man out of Las Vegas, he actually put some kind of a sensor, almost like a police scanner. And every time he'd pass one, this thing would beep and it would like tell him where they're at. And this guy's got balls. This old man stopped his truck, took a shovel and undug like 3 of these things, put them in his truck and drove off. And I guess he got to Vegas and went to a casino to go eat or something. And then they raided his house and tore his house to shit and arrested him. And it was on the news down here. Yeah. I saw it was about a week ago and I was at work. Yeah, it was on the news. Yeah.
What was he thinking, man? I don't know. I mean, you can't mess around with that stuff. I mean, that's a crazy shit.
But the crazy part was then the guy got out of jail. He went with George Knapp, I think it was. He went all the way back out there by Heiko again and dug up another one in front of the news station, the news crew. He didn't put it in his truck, but he undug it, picked it up and was showing the camera, and he put it back, and then they drove off or whatever. I was like, holy shit, this guy's going to go to prison for this.
Have you seen a video of the old lady that just like walks straight through the gate and she just keeps on walking? I wonder whatever happened to her.
Or they have that family that was like in a minivan. They just casually drove past the guards or whatever.
But they were hauling. Then they started hauling ass. Like I'm like, where are they going? And then they were also we showed this in Storming Area 51 on Discovery Plus. A group of motorcycle bikers. They were stopped, frisked. I mean, the guards were serious. They had guns pointed. They were like, no joking around. So the moral of the story is,
I think everybody's seen that one, bro.
Yeah, but maybe not everybody. But if you go there, don't mess around. You have to be as respectful as possible, or you're going to end up in some shit.
Well, so when you guys went out there with Discovery, were they filming with you the whole entire event, or did you guys get a chance to wander around without them? Or
well, when you do filming, I don't know if you might have filmed. I don't know.
A bunch of times. Yeah.
It's like a 12-hour day, so it's pretty long. I think the evenings is pretty much when by that time you're exhausted, so you're kind of like. But we did get a chance to go, and we did a little shopping spree at a couple different places, and met some people, hung out. We had a little bit of a party with some people there too. So we did get a chance to kind of meander around a little bit.
So when you got to the gate, was there a whole bunch of people there, or was it like not very many people at the gate? They're mostly in town at like the concert or whatever was going on, or?
Oh, there's tons of people at the gate, walking back and forth, just going in and out. Tons of different production companies going in and out. Everybody wanted to be at the gate. So
where did you guys stay though? Did you like camp out there, or were you staying in Vegas somewhere?
We had RVs.
They rented an RV for us.
I was gonna say, if you're sleeping on the ground, I'd be afraid of scorpions and stuff out there.
Hell right? Yeah, man. Right.
So, one thing I thought was kind of funny. So I told you I was looking for looking to watch the show yesterday. I couldn't find it. I found it on Amazon, but it said it was unavailable in the United States for some reason. You can't buy just that show. But there was some guy that did, some old man that was really bad mouthing you guys. I don't know if you heard that. I thought it was funny, but
oh yeah. If you go on YouTube, there's somebody referred to us as middle class English rapper looking or something like that. I was like, what does that even mean? Or they make fun of our weight or whatever, but it's just
they missed the mark. Like the guy missed the mark altogether. He was like, look at these two buffoons walking around citing numerous jokes about this. This isn't funny, blah blah blah. And then the guy was saying they probably just got out of the van and took 2 steps and drove back to Vegas or whatever. I thought it was funny because I went on the Art Bell show, and it was the worst interview I've ever done in my life for the Ely stuff. And the Art Bell was, I wish I never did it, but I have tons of hate mail. I still get hate mail from Art Bell people.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
When people say negative stuff about us, whether it's on Twitter or YouTube or whatever you have it, I absolutely adore it. I'm like, bring it on, because there ain't shit you can say that we haven't already said to ourselves.
Well, I'm gonna get into the Art Bell stuff a little bit later. There's something funny that you'll think is pretty funny. While we're on the topic of you going out there, you met Jeremy Corbell out there, right? Because I watched the show you did with Ryan Sprague, and I thought you said you met Corbell out there at some point, right?
Yeah, Jeremy Corbell is one of our good buddies. So we had him. He's on the show, Storming Area 51. And then when we met him out there, he was filming, I think, for Ancient Aliens. And so it was kind of funny where these 2 film crews kind of like merged and everybody knew each other. It was a really great moment. So yeah, we every chance that we get to go to an event, we definitely try to see Jeremy. He's so busy, but yeah.
So you knew him before this then?
Yeah, I knew Jeremy since 2016.
Okay. You said he showed you some previously unseen Bob Lazar footage, if I don't remember right. Was it him or someone else? Or you can't talk about it?
Well, when you have a connection with somebody, sometimes you see things that other people don't get to see. I'll just say that.
Okay, so do you want, well, this kind of off topic, well, kind of, do you believe Bob Lazar?
I do. I believe there's something to it.
Stanton Friedman tore him a new one with his whole education and all that. We used to talk to him all the time when we were doing our Ely stuff. But he kind of tore him a new one. But I don't know. The older I get, I kind of do believe Bob, actually. Because I know people give Jeremy Corbell crap about when he did that Bob Lazar documentary. Or people talk crap to George Knapp about it. I think his story's kind of starting to check out, though. Because some of the things he said are coming true. They found proof of the hand scanner.
Gravity waves.
Yes, and different things.
We weren't able to detect gravity waves until just a handful of years ago, and Bob Lazar was talking about it way back in the 80s, that's how the craft operate, was basically on reversing the polarity or whatnot of gravity waves, and that they would just kind of float along gravity waves, and that's how they move. Also, element 115, and many people argue that, well, of course, it's the next, when you have 112, 113, 114, 115.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, he was talking about that way before we were even anywhere near close to 115.
Oh, yeah.
And so a lot of just the basic description of how the craft flies makes sense. His experience with, taking the Janet flights was something that a lot of people didn't even know about until recently. And frankly, it wasn't until Barack Obama released the fact that Area 51 was indeed a real place. Other than that, they had just discredited it and said there was no such thing, even though you could see satellite photos. So a lot of what Bob has to say is, I think it's pretty much on point. Are there issues with the story? Maybe, possibly. But I don't particularly care about his education. A lot of people think that he's not a real physicist because he doesn't have a degree. But I think you have this kind of off-brand, interesting character working on rocket cars right there in Vegas that you'd want to have come and look at some exotic technology. I think it makes sense.
What do you think, Joe? You agree with what we're saying, or?
Oh, absolutely. I believe that some of the stuff he's talking about came into fruition. Possibly smartest man, so smart that he's probably stupid. But I love Bob Lazar, so don't take that off of me. But everybody has their own opinions on Bob Lazar. I believe it's real. I believe everything is slowly starting to come out, and it's proving right.
Or they talk about him having the broth or being a pimp or whatever.
Oh,
I thought it was I thought it was funny. I'm like, well, I guess he could be a pimp and be a smart pimp. I guess however you want to word that. I guess.
You know what, dude? I'm on the same. I feel like every time they try to debunk him, it only just makes me believe him more. I mean, and I find it hilarious, that he had a brothel. I mean,
yeah, I thought it was funny too. I was like, well, I guess it doesn't make him look good, I guess. But when you think about it, I was like, he could technically work at Area 51 and run a brothel at the same time.
He's an off-brand character, man. And who else better to be part of a super secret project than somebody who is easily discreditable by their past or the things that they're interested in. So that would be the perfect person. George Knapp talks about that, how because of Bob is so eccentric, how having him involved in a top secret program, if anything was to leak, it would be somewhat easy to discredit him because of his extracurricular sort of interests. So.
Can you imagine, like, if you went to you saw on TV or someone that happened to go to a brothel and Bob Lazar opens the door and is like, here's the ladies.
Oh, that'd be so great.
Please pick
that would
one.
be hilarious.
I named this one element 115, 215, 315, 715, and 915.
He's like, while you wait, let's talk about S4 and the hand scanner.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. That hand scanner is, I mean, I'll never forget when Jeremy in the documentary, Jeremy showed it to him and he was like, just, oh my God, I never thought I'd see this again.
I was watching that last night, actually.
Yeah.
So I guess now that we talked a little bit about Area 51, I'll get into the whole needles thing. So, like I said, I'm going to have you guys kind of tell your version of what happened or things that have happened to you. I have some questions written down. And then I'll kind of stop you guys and tell a little bit about my Ely story because it kind of meshes well with what you guys did. And some parts are relevant to what you guys. So the first thing I was going to say, so how did you guys get started with this, or what got you interested in that specific case?
Well, as you know, we go to crash sites. And at the time, that's what we were doing, is we were looking for crashes. Mm-hmm. And the most recent one that we could find was the 2008 Needles crash, where in the spring of 2008, something came through the sky, a blue streak over Needles, California, and crashed into the riverbanks. And the entire, well, not the entire, but a huge population of people in Needles saw it, followed by helicopters and one of those crane copters that came and picked the object up and took it away. So there was something to it, because the next day, scientists came in. We're talking, the black car vehicles coming in, and that they were trying to recover pieces of the crash. And so we thought, well, what would happen if we contacted the witnesses from the radio station? Because while the radio station was live, they started taking calls from people about this object. And so what we did is we went and we interviewed the people at the local radio station. Forgive me, I don't know what it is off the top of my head. We also interviewed a local land surveyor who was trying to find the coordinates of about where this object crashed. And so that's what we did, is we interviewed these people and we kind of zeroed in on the location. And Joe, you can tell them the rest.
Yeah, once we got the location zeroed in, we went over and looked around the area. Looked pretty flat, sandy, normal. Didn't look anything out of the norm. So then we had our metal detector, and we had our Geiger counter, and we had some more equipment with us. But we were detecting around the area, and I started detecting this weird frequency. So then I started digging, and about 1.5 feet, 2 feet deep, 2.5, somewhere between there, this piece of metal, this weird piece of orangish, yellowish metal that we pulled out. So we pulled it out and then took a look at it, checked it out, and there's no radiation on it, and then so we decided to go and look at it and ask everybody's opinion on it and see what they think it is. Because
so what made you want to pick that specific spot, though?
Because of the land surveyor.
Oh, yeah. So you talked to someone who had a general idea that's where they thought it might be?
He gave us the
We
map.
did. We had a map.
He gave us a map.
We had the
Oh, that's
fair
cool,
and the map and then everything. Yeah.
So it's kind of like a treasure hunt, like X marks the spot kind of thing.
Exactly
Pretty much.
right.
I mean,
It wasn't that long, you know, a
couple.
couple hours and we found it. Sorry, bro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you said you talked to the land surveyor, and you said you were talking to the radio show guy, the guy who was hosting the radio show out there. Did you talk to anyone who supposedly was contacted by Men in Black or some kind of an agency that was telling them not to talk about it?
No, we only got secondhand stories about that.
Mm-hmm.
And we spoke with George Knapp actually on the topic, and he gave us a lot of insight as well. That's one thing I forgot to add. He did a special on it for the news station KSLA. I don't know if you know the name.
Yeah, it's one of the Channel 5 or Channel 8 in Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, he did a story on needles, and so he was kind of our guide a little bit and helping us figure out what happened and because he was the one to originally go there and interview like Bob on the river, the guy that was on the river that saw it that night, and so it was of enough interest to us and enough eyewitnesses that we decided, hey, you know what? We've got some witnesses. We got contact with the land surveyor. We have a general idea where it's at. Let's go take a look and see if there's anything left behind. Did you get a chance to see the metal piece?
Not yet. We'll get into that in just a minute, though, because that's one of my next thing I'm going to get to. So, how many witnesses would you say that you found? Like a rough estimate? Would you say there's like a whole bunch, or not too many, or?
Well,
pretty much. Sorry.
Sounds like someone has like the raptor cage from the first Jurassic Park with the raptors, or someone has like chickens or something. That it sounds like.
Joe's got chickens.
I got my chickens. Beep, beep, beep.
I was gonna say that sound like chickens.
Like I
my
said,
mini
the only
raptors.
Yeah, like I said, the only real witness was at the radio station who took the calls from the local community about what was coming through the sky. So there was quite a few, from what we understand. You know, there's Bob on the river. There's some people that just saw all these cars come in. And all these scientists, they were talking about at the local restaurant, like, you know, that a lot of the scientists and a lot of the military personnel were eating there, and they could overhear certain things about, you know, what they were doing and whatnot. But again, that's all secondhand information. We didn't speak with anybody directly other than the radio station host and the land surveyor.
So, do you think the object was a UFO, like a object from space, or do you think it was like a test aircraft of some kind, or what do you think it was?
Well, we don't know.
We haven't had it analyzed or anything like that, or taken it to, you know, to metallurgist or whatever they're called. That's our next step, but it costs the moolah, some money to do that. So we're working on that.
I know some of that stuff could cost like 10 grand to get something looked at.
Yeah.
So
Travis Taylor recently told us that we might be able to get it for free, maybe at a local college. They might, or university.
I'm just worried you wouldn't get it back ever again if you sent it. I would make sure you were present. Otherwise, you might not ever get that back. Yeah. So this is a good stopping point where I could tell you I'll tell you like the general story of the Ely crashes.
Sure.
Because I need to kind of tell you about this, because I'm going to come back to it with some of the questions later on. So I started telling you guys earlier. So my grandma was a school teacher, and she ended up hearing about there was this UFO crash up near Ely, Nevada. Originally, people said it was 1952 on the internet. When you look it up, there's not really any story. It just gives kind of a date, and it just says Ely, Nevada. I think it's August of 1952 is what they put on there. So I ended up talking to different people, and we found out the general story is that a glowing object, it was glowing blue, yellow, and purple, came down from the sky in the night shift up near Ely, Nevada, in a town called Ruth. Ruth is about 10 or 12 miles from Ely. They just call it the Ely crash because that's kind of the big town in the area. Kind of like Roswell, where they call it the Roswell crash, but it didn't really happen in Roswell. It was kind of just close to Roswell. So
Corona.
Yeah. So these guys are working the night shift at about 9 or 10 at night. They see this glowing object come down, and it crashes on the other side of this hill called the Keystone Dump. A dump site, for people that don't know, it's kind of just an area where they put all the trash material that they dug out of the ground that's not valuable. They dump it in a big pile outside of the mine to where they could just continue digging for this, whatever they're looking for. So there's a guy named Pete. Pete was the security guard that was, they call it a rover, a guy that kind of drives around. He's not stuck in one spot. He kind of drives around. And he saw it crash on the opposite side of the mine on the other side of the Keystone Dump. So Pete, what he does is he drives his truck over to the general area where he saw it crash, and he sees an object. It's like a cigar-shaped cylinder-looking object. And he said it was just sitting on a snowbank. It didn't blow up or anything, and there was no alien bodies or anything. It was kind of just sitting on this snowbank. So Pete gets back in his truck after looking at this thing for a while, drives back to, I call it dispatch, wherever all the security guards hung out at. And he picks up a guy named Vern. Vern was his best friend and also his coworker. He drives Vern back to the crash site. Vern gets out and says, "Holy crap, I don't know why the hell did you bring me out here? I don't know what do you want me to do, basically." So Vern and Pete get back and they drive once again back to dispatch. This time, whoever's in charge calls the armory over in Ely. There's a National Guard armory in town, but the guards weren't 24/7. They weren't guardsmen 24/7. They had regular jobs during the week and everything. So they start mobilizing this guard unit. They end up getting about 60 people, I was told. Meanwhile, back to inside the mine, Pete and Vern load up this whole pickup truck full of guys, and they drive out to where the UFO was sitting. So they get there, and once they get there, this time the object looks like it's dripping like a syrup or like a ooze of some kind, and it's dripping all over the ground around the object. But it's still glowing. There's no bodies. There's no wreckage. It's just kind of just sitting there. So in the middle of these guys kind of trying to figure out what's going on, the National Guard shows up. The Guard shows up with, I said, about 60, 70 people. They get all the miners out of there, and they kind of block off the entrance to the mine. So I was telling you, literally, the town of Ruth is built at the entrance of the mine. Like, the town basically surrounds the mine. So they formed this road blockade, and the townspeople in Ely start hearing about stuff that's going on, and they start showing up, trying to see what's going on. And then the National Guard starts telling people that basically a small plane had crashed in this mine. And so in the middle of all these people trying to figure out what's going on, Hill Air Force Base over in Ogden, Utah, sent actual soldiers or Air Force personnel, whatever you want to call them, and they're driving from Hill Air Force Base down to Ely. It's about a 3-hour drive. So the soldiers get there about midnight, 1 a.m. They load the object up, and they take off out the back entrance to the mine. And when they go out the back entrance to the mine, they have to pass by an Indian reservation, and the people on the Indian reservation saw it, and they took it to an Air Force base with a dirt runway, is what we were told. And the only place that had a dirt runway close to there, if you followed their route, would have been Area 51 before it became all top secret like it is nowadays. So I was going to show you something real quick. I'm going to share my screen real quick and show you something real quick. So,
you're very organized.
Yeah. So just so you can
Not
see
me.
it, here's the Keystone Dump over here. And Pete would have been somewhere on this part of the mine when he saw it crash. And he saw it crash around this area, somewhere back here. And Pete, I'm thinking that's something else. Let me X that out. Yeah, so Pete, if I could find it. No, not that one. There he is. That's Pete.
That's
So
Pete,
it
all
looks
right.
all, yeah, he looks all Cold War 1950s looking. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, so Pete There's a funny story about it. I'll tell you in just a second. I know this is kind of going off topic. I'm supposed to be interviewing you guys. This is the actual newspaper article that talked about, it doesn't mention the UFO crashing, but it talks about the snowstorm and heavy rainstorm that went through town that night. And it knocked out the power and everything in town. It's the Ely Daily Times from January 17th, 1953. So it would have been January 16th, 1953. So let me stop sharing that real quick. Let me make that bigger. So I'm doing the UFO case, and I was featured in the Ely Daily Times and Nevada Magazine. So I end up getting called. They put my phone number in the magazine, which I thought was kind of a bad idea. So I started getting all these calls all around the clock from people, a lot of them wackos, saying they saw UFOs and stuff. And I got a call from a man who said he was a brakeman on a train in the area, and he saw a UFO crash into some train tracks in the 1960s, which is a totally different story. So at this point, I'm like, oh, God, I thought I was done with the 1950s thing I just told you about. Now I'm like, great. Now there's a whole nother story I got to get started on. I was writing a book on that, and I finished it, and I had to literally toss the whole thing out and start all over again.
Oh, man.
I'll see how fast I could get through this real quick, because I know I'm supposed to be interviewing you guys, not talking about myself.
Fine. We're just chilling.
Oh, yeah. So to make a long story short, the copper mine is in Ruth, Nevada, where they kind of mine all the ores. And if you go up the road about 20, 30 miles, you get to a place called McGill, Nevada. McGill, Nevada, it is... Here, let me show you where the town is. This will make more sense. So McGill, Nevada is about, like I said, about 20 miles away, I'd say. Here it is. So in Ruth over on A, they mine it there. The train station where all the trains sit is in B, and C is where they that's where the smelter is, where they make it into usable products like copper wires and things like that. They make it into copper bars. Yeah, so this guy, he said that he was a brakeman on a train, and the train had just left the smelter. It was going up to Washington, and they were going to bring it to Japan, I guess, is where they usually brought it to go use it, to go sell it over there. And he said they came around a bend in the tracks, and the tracks were destroyed up ahead. They were bent like pretzels, thrown around and bent like pretzels, he said. And when the train stopped, since he was in charge of the brakes, he slammed on the brakes, and the train partially derailed. And when they stopped, I guess he said that there was an object flipped upside down and totally obliterated sitting off to his right at the base of a mountain. And off to his left, there's a farmer's field, and there was alien bodies and a bunch of wreckage and things all thrown around this farm field.
I've definitely not heard of this.
Yeah, so he says when the train stopped, there was already 3 or 4 ladies on horseback, like female ranchers were there, and they were on horseback. And I guess when the train stopped, they got scared and they rode off on horses. And the same story as the other one. They used the radio on the train to call dispatch. Dispatch called that armory again. And then the armory ended up calling out Hill Air Force Base. And before Hill Air Force Base got there, the National Guard had the area sealed off again. So that's the short version of that. Let me show you a couple areas of the crash site real quick, because it's basically been untouched since this event happened. I have a couple of pictures on here I was going to show you. So, yeah, I'll show you these ones. So you could see the dark area where the object hit and it skidded, and then it crashed kind of off to our right, like over this way. So the object hit, and you could see the dark area where like the object hit. You can see the railroad tracks are not used anymore. They're kind of overgrown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There were telegraph poles and a fence post when the object crashed into the ground when it flew up into the railroad tracks, because the railroad tracks are raised up from this farm field. So it had to hit down in the field, and it bounced up. And it cut these poles. I don't know if you could see it. They almost look like they've been melted. They're not cut as much as they look like they've been melted with something hot.
Oh, yeah.
And let me zoom out of this one. There it is. So you can see right here, this is a hill, It's basically a pile of that waste material from the smelter. What they would do is they would dump it in this big pile along the side of the service road for the railroad. And the object totally destroyed the mountain right here. When it hit the tracks right here and it kept going and ran into that mountain. So the object was sitting upside down right here. Right here is where the train was, roughly somewhere around here. And that farmer's field is off in the distance over this way. You could see the telegraph poles right here. And you could look right here, right by where the object hit. It's missing, which means it tore down the telegraph pole in this. That was right here.
Oh, wow.
And the telegraph pole's still laying on the ground in the ditch right there. This was the area right around the corner where the National Guard and the Air Force had their tents and stuff set up. And they ran down the fence, and you can see part of the fence is still left. They ran down the fence with their trucks and things. This is showing, you can see there's like an indented area right here.
Yeah.
Where the object hit, where it kind of destroyed the ground and it bounced up onto the tracks right here. One more picture and then we'll continue.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is just another picture of that darkened area where the object hit.
How interesting.
Yeah,
I love that. Go ahead.
Oh, no, it's cool. Yeah, so it's kind of a little bit off topic because I was supposed to be talking to you guys, like I said, but I figured you guys would think that was interesting.
Oh,
Very.
yeah. I love the landscape. I love to go out and look at, I mean, it looks like what you've got some really great captures
Oh, yeah.
to tell the story.
We have like hundreds of pictures of this kind of stuff, but I figured I didn't want to do that thing because that would take like a whole like 2 hours just to do that. But no, so I did the Ely crash. Well, not me, it's me and my brother and our friend. But so we did the Ely crash. I figured while we're on the topic of metal and we're talking about possibly the Men in Black showing up, you guys have never had anyone contact you trying to get that metal from you, or no one said don't show this on TV or whatever? Never?
Nope. Never.
Nope.
Well, we've had people say not to show it on TV, but it wasn't the Men in Black.
Well, I have a story that I kind of started telling you. I have actually a couple stories. So I would say back around 2010, 2012, something like that, I was on the Art Bell show when he did his Midnight in the Desert thing.
Yeah.
It was like after he was doing the Coast to Coast, he was kind of doing his own thing. So it was one of the worst interviews I've ever done, honestly. But that interview, for some reason, gets reposted all over the internet. I kind of lost all respect for Art in the middle of this because of this. I was supposed to be his guest on the show. First of all, I was using a cell phone, and he doesn't like cell phones. But I told his producer for like 2 weeks I was going to be using a cell phone, and his producer was fine with it. His producer told me to send him a list of 40 questions that Art was going to ask me during the interview. So Art doesn't even ask his own questions, I guess. At least he didn't on that show. So I sent Art the list of questions, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing that he doesn't do his own questions. But yeah, so I sent it to him. He gets all pissed off. I'm using his cell phone. And in the middle of the interview, he just hangs up on me.
No shit.
No, for real. He hangs up on me because he got all pissed off. I wouldn't tell him where that crash site was that I just showed you. He got all pissed off. I called the listener phone number, no answer. I called the guest phone number, no answer. I emailed him, nothing. Finally, his producer answers eventually when I call on the guest call-in number. And he says, oh, well, Art's moved on to other topics. And I said, he broadcasts from Pahrump, which is an hour from here. I'll drive to that guy's house. If you want to pull a fast one on me and say my connection's what's making you hang up on me, I'll drive to your damn house. And then next thing I know, he hangs up on me. I never hear from him again. So I don't know to this day what the hell happened, but I lost all respect for Art Bell after that. And then he said that he was going to give my information to Linda Moulton Howe. And I started getting hate mail from Linda Moulton Howe people and Art Bell people. And to this day, I still get hate mail from both of their followers, I guess.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the Art Bell interview, I don't recommend that one. But anyway, so...
We'll skip that one.
Yeah.
Isn't he dead?
Yeah, he is now.
Yeah. Don't worry, we won't be.
Yeah, I get people say, "Don't talk bad about Art Bell." I'm like, he was an asshole to me. Like, there's no other way to word.
Right.
He was a dick. So, trying to think of how to word this. So, during our Ely investigation, Joe kind of disappeared there. So, there he is. So, there was a lady who supposedly knew Vern. She lived across the street from Pete and next door to Vern. This woman gave us a rock. And this rock supposedly was from that crash site somewhere. And I'm trying to think of how to word this in general terms without getting myself in trouble. I told you about it for the show.
Yeah.
So I don't know 100% that this came from the crash site or what it is. The woman originally gave it to us and was all excited to give it to us, but then she got all mad and kind of took her story back later on. So I don't know what's the deal with this rock. So I talked about it on the Art Bell show, which could or could not have been a mistake. And I was working graveyard shift at a casino in the count room where you count all the money at the time. And we would work overnight. Well, I got home at about 11 or 11:30 in the morning, and I just pulled in the driveway, and my feet are hanging out of the car, getting ready to get out. And a white sedan comes hauling ass, screeches its tires, pulls in behind me, and a guy gets out, and he's in a military fatigue. And the first thing I thought was, holy shit, I know what this is about. First thing I was thinking, because we were just on the Art Bell show, I was like, oh, great, I know what this is about. So a guy gets out, and I kind of walk around the front end of my car, going the long way around, and I come around the back. And when I came around the back of my car, I had to go around the back side of his car to kind of go where he got out at. And the guy starts asking, and the license plate was white with silver letters. It said U.S. government official use only on the license plate.
Oh,
I remember that because I work for the state government, so like I know what the state license plates look like. So the guy starts asking me questions about being on the Art Bell show. What do we know about the UFO crash? And starts kind of like drilling me on all these questions. So what I thought was weird was when he got back in his car, he said, "Tell Nick I said hi." And Nick's the guy that does the UFO stuff with me. So I kind of go in the house. I sit there for a while, call a couple of people and say, what just happened? I drive to the grocery store later that day, and the same car follows me to the grocery store. And I parked out in like one of the handicap spaces, and the car kept going. Well, for the next, I would say 6 months, I started getting calls from all these military bases. I saw from Hill Air Force Base, Luke Air Force Base. I got calls from Ogden, Utah, Hill Air Force Base, like I said.
Wow.
I actually got a call 2 weeks ago I was going to bring up to you guys later on. I'll tell you about. And I don't know if it's because of one of our witnesses, or I don't know if it's because of that rock or what, but they've shown up every time we do an interview that talks in depth about either the rock or certain witnesses. Well,
do you think you're going to get one after this?
Probably. Well, we did a show like last month on the Ely crash, and I got a call from Creech Air Force Base 2 weeks ago, like 2 weeks later.
Wow.
And I'm going to get to that later because that's like a good what if question for you and Joe. I'll ask you later.
Sure.
Because they were trying to make me go to the base and trying to lure me there, but we'll get into that later. So, wow. Yeah, so we started getting these panel vans were showing up outside the house, and they would always show up around the time I got home from work. Well, I eventually got tired of it, and I started taking their picture when they showed up outside our house, and they would do like burnouts and things and drive off.
Wow.
Well, I got one of the pictures I'm going to show you guys, and I want to get your opinion on this. So this is one of the vans that showed up outside the house. And I started taking their picture, and they did the U-turn real quick and was trying to haul ass out of there. And this was 2016, 2018.
Wow, well, they want whatever the hell you have. Seems like.
And people usually don't believe me until I start showing them pictures of the vans. Like, and you can see it has the blacked out windows like people talk about. It's not the color's not black on the car, but
it's the men in white van.
Yeah, it's a white van, blacked out windows. It has government license plates on it.
Wow.
So it's like, Yeah. So I was like, what do you think of that? You think that's government or
I don't know, man. It sounds like somebody's messing with you like that. Like, I mean, you're obviously onto something with whatever it is that you have in your possession.
You've never had anything like that with your metal piece?
Not yet, but we just did an interview with Travis Taylor from Skinwalker Ranch, who was also the head chief or the chief scientist for the unidentified aerial phenomena, the UAPTF report. And we just put that up. And he asked us the same thing. We're like, we haven't heard from anybody yet. So, you know, we're just now kind of starting to put it out there. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I hope not.
If somebody came up and tried to do what they're doing to me, where these military bases start calling your house and stuff, would you hide it somewhere or do that kind of thing? Because like The Rock, I have it put up and hid somewhere right now because I got worried that someone's gonna. They've never told me they wanted it or anything. But I just know
like
you have
poking
that
at
piece.
I don't know what we would do with it. I guess we would probably hide it. I mean, or I would at least take a small piece of it if it ever gets taken away from us.
That's what I mean, not like throw it away or anything. But I'm like, wouldn't you like?
No,
hide
we do have a piece of it though that's stored away somewhere that kind of came off. But I don't know what we would do. I guess we would just have to see what happens in order. You know, I don't know.
See what they say.
I can't believe it. But yeah, I mean, you sound like you've been, you know, effed with quite a bit though over whatever it is that you have. It must be something of importance.
Well, after the show, I want when we're done with the show, I'm gonna end the show later on, and then I want you both to stay on so I can show Joe those pictures I was showing you earlier.
Okay.
And then while we're talking about the metal, I know you said you found it buried. How far down was it buried? Was it? I don't know the math or whatever, but there's some kind of math you could do with erosion to figure out roughly like when something was buried or when it I guess.
Well, we have it on video. We have it on video of us actually pulling it out of the ground. I have to Joe knows better than I do. It was somewhere between a foot to 2 feet, somewhere foot and a half to 2 feet, somewhere like that. It was about I can't even show on the camera. Yeah, it was it was pretty deep.
So would you say
it was not on the surface?
Well, do you think you found like the actual crash site, or did it like hit somewhere and just flung? Where like, in your opinion, I know you don't know for sure, but like in your opinion, what do you think?
I think that. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, it's somewhere. Let me put it this way: there's no way that a car could just like sit there in a road where it was at, where the bank was, where the roads were. There's no way of like getting around or over the hill to get to where we were. And to find a piece of metal like that, you know, not that deep, you know, a foot, whatever, 2 feet, you know, out of the whole entire spectrum of the area, you know, it's like needle in a haystack or some piece they forgot to grab or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting artifact in the way that it looks at. We've had multiple people look at it, and there are just some things on it that just raise more questions than answers.
I know. Yes. Oh no, I don't want you guys to think I don't believe you or anything. No, I believe you. I was just asking for like because people probably wonder like whoever's watching.
Sure. Yeah. No, I don't.
Yeah. So I know we were talking earlier, and I said I probably wouldn't send it out. I'd probably go in person if someone's going to look at it. Have one of you guys there. So like, what? Well, I guess this is kind of related to what I just asked. So how do you determine who keeps the medal? What do you be like? Sundays Joe gets it, and on Mondays Emmett gets it. Like, how do you figure?
Oh no, Emmett gets all of it.
He gets the cool stuff.
I get the cool stuff. Joe gets. Yeah, I have all of our equipment and everything that we have.
I have too many kids that'll destroy it.
Yeah, there you go.
I
don't have any kids.
Over my shoulder right now, like off here watching.
Hello, child.
She wants to see what you. She wants to see what you look like, I guess, or something. I don't know. But this is so. When you do the Ely crash, or not Ely, when you do the Needles crash, do you ever get people that doubt you, or people that send you hate mail, or people that, I guess, all ends of the spectrum? People that say you're doing a good job. You get kind of all of it.
Oh yeah, we get it all, man. We get every comment you can imagine. We've had. Like you're saying, the gentleman that, you know, had a comment about, you know, two doofuses. And we are doofuses, so he wasn't wrong. So I got a funny story I was going to bring up to you guys. So have you ever done an interview
or whatever you want to call it, appeared on someone's show and they started kind of trying to steamroll you or give you a hard time?
I don't think so. I think
No,
people
not
have
that I
been.
know.
No, I think they've been really open to our stories and what our experiences are. You know, we're just honest, straightforward fellows. We're not trying to hide anything or project any mysterious where it's not necessarily supposed to be. So, you know, we're just average guys. We're just like you or anybody else.
Yeah.
You know,
I appeared on this is something you'll probably think is funny. There's a reason why I was asking you that. So I appeared on a show about the Ely crashes about 2-3 months ago, and the host of the show, he goes, "So how do you know Pete really worked at the mine and that story wasn't made up?" I said, "Well, I talked to like 20 people that worked with them and were his neighbors and things." Then he goes, "Well, we need hard evidence." I said, "Oh, well, I have his employment record. I could show it to you. Like he literally worked at the mine, and all the mine's paperwork is at a museum in town." And they let us like copy it. And then he goes, "Well, how do I know those aren't fake records?" And I go, "Oh, well, it's a museum." And he goes, "Well, they could have faked those. Someone could have typed that up that works there."
oh Lord,
There's like a little kid going, "Why?
why?
Why?" I was gonna say, you've never had anything like that.
No, mostly people just comment on just how seemingly unserious we are about things. We just kind of bump along the way. So we've never had anybody directly challenge us.
No challenges,
like
no.
I said,
I
Most
get
of their
challenged around the clock. Every time I go on a show, there's always someone that wants to call into the show and fight with me, or the host of the show wants to fight with me. Yeah.
Maybe you're just that kind of guy.
I don't know. I got
don't
good
know.
stories about like Men in Black stuff, but I haven't even told you all those stories yet. We've had people where we called and they said the people showed up at their house the week before and threatened to kill them and stuff, like all kinds of stuff like
Jesus.
that. So this next question is kind of this is just kind of like a what if question, kind of like a fun question. So I told you I did a Ely UFO show about 2 months ago or so, about a month or two. And shortly after, about 2 weeks after, I was at work and I got a call from Creech Air Force Base, which is the Air Force Base that's on the border of the test site, the test range, and the regular land, whatever you want to call that. And this guy called me and said he was from EG&G and introduced himself. And then out of nowhere, he says, "What would you do if I told you there was UFOs at Creech Air Force Base?" And I kind of sit there. I'm like, "Who is this?" And he goes, "What would you do if I said that I could show them to you if you came down here?" And I asked him, like, "Who are you? Like, how do you have my number?" And the guy goes, "Well, if you come down here, I could show it to you." And then in my head, I'm picturing just getting zip tied and arrested, like you see
Right.
how they like zip tie you and throw you in the back of some car. And
Like,
kill
we
you.
finally got him.
Yeah. So I guess the question I was going to ask was, I ended up not going because it kind of freaked me out.
Pass them along our info. We'll go take it.
Would you have actually drove out there if they called you and you would have went out there?
Of course, we'd have.
You wouldn't be afraid of getting arrested or getting killed or something?
Joe would be. He's such a whiny baby. He doesn't like. I'm like, you know what? If we got to trespass a little bit, I'm dead. Just like, no, we cannot trespass because the cops will be here. And no, I'm just.
You are
well,
back
Joe.
backwards.
Remember, you didn't want to. No,
I'm not going to pass.
Roswell.
No, hey, listen here. Shut your freaking mouth for 2 seconds. Look at you.
We went to Roswell. And you didn't want to go onto the ranch. Remember?
Look at you and your pan antler finger. Chill out.
My what finger?
Nothing. I don't even know what I was trying to say. Thanks a lot, bro.
Good. Moving
forward.
We're
talking about you if you show up at the base or if you would do that.
Well, I would definitely show up if they invite me in. You invite me, I'm going.
Yeah.
Well, at my work, I talk to prisoners all day for like part of my job. So we're sitting there talking to prisoners, and I'm getting calls about aliens, and I'm in the other room talking about aliens, and there's a guy talking about getting like 20 years in prison and stuff in the other room. So,
yeah,
I had to make it quick.
I could see why you'd be hesitant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, moving on, I have 3 pages of notes. We're at like halfway through roughly. So I guess I'm doing pretty good for my co-host bailing out on me. So
not too shabby.
Yeah. the last thing to wrap up needles for this part of the interview. So, do you still investigate needles? Are you still doing that, or are you planning on putting a book or something out?
That's a good question. We kind of just move on to the next thing. What we're doing right now is we're working more with experiencers and interviewing them, and kind of coordinating some trips and kind of getting more into what's in the skies. But I don't know. We probably should go and revisit needles sometime and go back to that spot and see if we can find more of what we found before.
Because I know you were saying on Ryan's show that, I think it was Ryan's show, you said that you're not much of a reader, or you're not like a writer. I don't know what Joe is. If Joe's like that.
I can barely write a paragraph. No, that's my joke.
I'll write something up. It'll be like, like Charlie Brown style.
So you're more into film than you are like reading or writing type stuff.
I feel like we tell our stories and what we have to say through film and through interviews and through. Well, actually, I posted a tweet the other day, and I said I'd like to write a terribly written book someday.
Oh, I saw that on Twitter. Yeah.
So I might have to do that. Terribly written book is right up my alley, I'll tell you.
So the next thing I was going to ask, I saw some of your videos on this. You went to Roswell. You checked out the crash site. You guys got there when the sun was going down. It looked like it was dark, right?
Yep.
Did you guys come back out there the next day or something? Or
no, we camped there.
Oh, you camped there?
We slept. We slept there. I'll never forget that night. I just laid on the roof and looked at the Milky Way and just.
So where's Joe when you're laying on the roof? Is he like in the dirt or something? Or
he's in the car sleeping. He's like, all right, I'm going to bed, and I'm like, you can't go to bed. We just got here, bro. But he was driving, and then our tire popped, and so he was like, he had to like do that. So he was pretty.
Well, you got to understand, when you're 4 or 5 hours away from any civilization, and your tire pops, and you got a semi-flat tire that's a spare, and you're like, how am I going to get the hell out of here? And
so did you have a donut, or you had a full-size spare and got lucky?
Yeah.
So was that? I saw the video where you were messing around with the tire and you're all mad, and Emmett was walking around looking.
That was it.
So was that the only time you guys have broken down or had something? I mean, it was really good for YouTube, like funny video, but I'm sure it wasn't funny when it happened. But
he was so mad.
Was that the only time you guys have broken down driving that far?
Or? Well, on the way to Emmett's house, going to Alien Con, my flex plate broke in my car.
Oh, geez. So, were you guys worried you're going to be stuck out in the middle of some field somewhere by Roswell, having to walk hours back to town?
Yeah,
actually, days probably. Yeah,
probably days. Actually,
probably
days. It was like 4. How long were we? Yeah, 4 or 5 hours from Roswell. Yeah, just out like in the plains of New Mexico.
Yeah. We had an incident before. We're doing our Ely stuff. There's a mountain called Kimberly Mountain where they had like this base where they were tracking the X-15 rocket plane up there. And we got this great idea in the middle of a snowstorm to try to drive up there in a Chevy Malibu. And it was a rental, yeah. And our car slid into a ditch, and it was like a snowstorm outside.
Oh, shit.
We didn't have a shovel or anything, so we had to undig the car with our hands. And it's like sagebrush and stuff, cut our hands all up. I think I found a pair of like shoes in the back, like one of our shoes. And I was using my brother's shoes as like a shovel, and then he was all pissed off his shoes were all ruined. But no,
that sounds like some shit
I remember it was like 2 a.m, and out there we're like in the middle of nowhere, and it was literally freezing. We didn't plan on getting stuck, so we're idiots with like light jackets on in a snowstorm. You can't see anything. I remember.
Sounds like us.
We had snow buried up to like the tops of the tires, like a "oh shit, you're screwed" moment.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I guess I was thinking your guys' moment in Roswell was kind of like that. You got lucky.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have a donut or a full size though?
No, it was a full size, but it was bald and it was halfway full.
Oh God! So you had to buy a tire or something in Roswell, or drive all the way?
Yep,
we sure did.
Oh God! Your Roswell tire.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper in Roswell than California. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, everyone from California is moving here right now to Vegas.
Everything is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's why Joe moved to Oregon.
Yep.
Really? Are you going to go up to Oregon too eventually, or don't know?
Joe's trying to get me to go. I don't know. I'm open.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have anything tying me down other than my parrot and my cat. So
Go to Roswell then. Move to Roswell.
That'd be
Roswell's
cool.
a little too desert vibey. Everybody's wearing like the Aztec like
Yeah.
pullover, and it's, you know, everybody's a little dusty. You know, I mean, not to disparage the residents of Roswell, but a little bit dusty.
Yeah.
But it
You
actually
should
it's
have
gotten
worn
better.
just like
It's
that in
gotten
your
better.
videos.
We were just there. We filmed for Tubi
Mhm.
last year, the end of this last year.
I saw
and
you on a Roswell thing. I don't think I saw Joe on there. I saw you on a interview.
Joe's on there
Yeah.
for a few seconds. He's in there.
So you went to the UFO museum, right?
I don't understand. I did tons of talking. They didn't take any of it. Okay.
I did it where I did a thing for Sci-Fi Channel. They wanted to film the people that do the Curse of Oak Island. We're going to do a week-to-week series on that UFO crash up in Ely. I went up there like 5 times. We filmed all these pilot episodes and stuff, and I never heard anything of it. Speaking of it.
We've done tons of pilot episodes too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know how that goes. It's a big disappointment because you do all what seems to be this amazing, miraculous, fun, once in a lifetime opportunity that nobody ever sees it, or you know, you never. I filmed something for Sci-Fi Channel as well, and we brought the Needles piece with us, and we had astronaut Mark Kelly took a look at it. And what's interesting about that is he talked about how the yellowing on the metal piece could indicate that it was in space or had been in space for, you know, an extended period of time. So it was very interesting. Nobody will ever see it'll never see the light of day, but I totally feel you on that, man. I totally feel you.
Well, this is just kind of for my own. I've never been to Roswell, so I'm guessing you went to the UFO museum while you're there, right?
Of course.
So what's in there? What was it like? Is it super crowded? Like, how is it?
No, mostly it's just toury, like tourists mostly. A lot of gag things in there. There's a lot of good information. They have some pieces of the wreckage that was there.
It's interesting.
That they dug up in 2000 or 2003 or something like that. They redug it up, and you can see those pieces. You can watch the films that they have in their film room. You can get, you know, anything from their gift shop. There's all kinds of gift shop stuff, alien stuff.
They have a whole library.
And then the library is just, everything. Anything you can think of.
So is it like wall-to-wall people, though, or is it not like they show on TV? Or
no, not really. It's
just depends.
Just depends on the day, I guess. Yeah.
We were there in the winter time towards.
I don't think I'd go there during the Crash Festival. It looks way too crowded.
Yeah. I think that'd be fun.
Have you ever seen 6 Days in Roswell? It's from like the early 2000s, where the guy goes to the 50th anniversary thing. That was hilarious.
No,
he has to sleep in an RV for like $200 a night in the 90s because there's no hotel rooms and all this stuff.
Oh my gosh, no!
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So I kind of heard. I think it was Joe on Ryan's show. You were on Ryan Sprague's show, right? Where you were talking about you guys went to Aurora before to see the cemetery and all that. So again, this is kind of just for me. So how was that like, or was there people there besides you, or did they put like another headstone where the other one got stolen, or?
No other headstone. It was really a passerby kind of thing. We didn't really get a chance to like, you know, dig into it, but it was just kind of like a passerby thing. There's like a little area though that has some. There's a few little shops and stuff that celebrate that whole story, but it's nothing like Roswell or, you know, Area 51 area.
So Roswell, is like the whole town themed like aliens, or just part of it?
Oh yeah,
it's literally a strip. Well. Yeah, the McDonald's is badass. It's shaped like a flying saucer.
Is it just like one street, like one main street, or?
Well, it's like a 4-mile strip maybe out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And all the shops are alien themed and all the restaurants, and like what's really cool is like the light poles are they painted little alien eyes on the light poles. So it's all totally, you know,
everything alien related. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you guys buy a bunch of alien crap from the gift shops and all that?
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, bought
Of course,
shirts and
yeah.
hats and glasses and all that stuff.
So, I'm starting my last page of notes. So, my next thing was unidentified with Demi Lovato. You kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. So, what was that experience like? I have seen this one. For the people that haven't seen it, or how would you explain your experience on that show, or what happened briefly, unless you don't want to give it all away and you want to leave it up to the viewer? However you want to word that.
What you see genuinely happened.
Absolutely.
The area that we scouted was essentially a high strangeness area, and it was a grounds for Native Americans, and there's all these sorts of drawings and rock carvings and rock paintings in the area. And the story goes that a couple lived in a cabin there, and they were having all these experiences with aliens and lights and being taken out of the room. And so we thought it'd be a great place for Demi to go. And while we were there, we did a sky watch. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was Demi, or with Matthew and with Dallas Lovato, but there's something about the energy there. It was like we were just open to something happening. And Joe, you can say, what you and Dallas saw was probably the most amazing thing.
Yeah, we saw it actually light up and glow. And Dallas completely broke down, started crying, and she saw it for the first time.
She's crying because she's scared, or because she's a sissy, or what?
No, she's crying because she felt it. She felt the whole experience, and she actually got to see something.
Yeah,
because Demi's the one that talks about her experiences, and Dallas never had a chance to experience it. So it was like she finally did, and so she was like, "Oh my gosh!" It just really rocked her to the core. So that was a genuine capture of a real experience.
Do you guys still talk to any of them? I know you had some of them on your shows. Oh, you talk to all of them?
Demi's in a different stratosphere. So we don't have regular communication with Demi, but we do talk to Dallas, and we do keep in touch with Matthew as well.
Yep.
I did a really bad show with Jack Osborne before.
Did you?
It's called Haunted Highway. It was a horrible show, but I met Jack Osborne, and I was talking to him for a long time about like metal music and stuff. And then the producers were like trying to get him away, like, go away, go away. He's like trying to shove him out. Once we're done filming, they kind of like tried to whisk him away somewhere. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, if you want to text or you want to like chat or something. And then then they're like, no, don't give your information out to him. Like I'm like a peasant or something. They like whisked him away.
Well, there was a lot of security when we were working with Demi, and they definitely had like, because Demi's such a huge star.
Yeah.
That the paparazzi, and it was all very secretive where Demi was at what time. Yeah.
Did you guys know you were filming with her ahead of time, or did they just kind of, you showed up and then you found out it was her? Or?
I knew about it before. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I don't know how Emmett knew about it. He just had a feeling about it, but he didn't tell us until the very end who it was going to be.
I know with the Jack Osborne thing, I didn't know until I got there that day that he was going to be there. And then I got asked to do a show with Stone Cold Steve Austin like 2 months ago, I'd say. And then they ended up, I guess, picking someone else over me. But they told me ahead of time it was going to be him. I thought it was going to be awesome. They're like, well, he wants to look for UFOs up by, I guess, about by Rachel somewhere. And they're like, would you want to like have a beer with him on camera and watch UFOs? I'm like, hell yeah, I would. Have a beer with Stone Cold and look for UFOs and hear wrestling stories and stuff. I was like, I'd do that.
How cool is that?
I was like, I'd do that. So next thing. So you guys do your own show called the Probecast. Mm-hmm. Can you tell people about that for those of people that are going to watch this that don't know what that is? Can you talk about it, or talk about maybe some of the people you interview on there, the kind of shows you do?
Sure. What we try to do is interview notable people. Like we have Nick Pope, Travis Taylor, Giorgio Tsoukalos. Those are all from Ancient Aliens. Dallas Lovato, Matthew, Scott Montgomery.
The time
We
travel
also,
guy on there recently, right?
yeah, Dr. Michael Masters, which was super mind blowing. And then we have
Mhm.
some other guests lined up that aren't in the normal UFO circle. So
Yeah.
that's really what we're trying to do, is get notable people who otherwise don't always know about this topic, and we get them on to talk about their experiences and their thoughts on kind of what's going on. But yeah, the Probecast is fun. You know, we do it off the cuff. We don't even have anything prepared usually when we do it.
Yeah.
We just get on there and chat and see where it goes. And you know, the energy is always really great. Like I think probably one of my favorite episodes is with Dallas Lovato. She was absolutely hilarious and a total blast to interview.
Yeah. So are you guys eventually wanting to branch out and do something other than UFOs, like Bigfoot or ghosts or something? Are you strictly UFOs for the time being, or?
Oh yeah, we're part of the paranormal family. We want to experience everything. I mean, we want to check out Sasquatchy. You know, we want to check out ghosts on the Christmas past. You know, we want to we want to experience all of that. You know, we just
Christmas past. I like that.
Shut up. So,
Sasquatchy.
Sasquatchy.
We have a really good spot up by Lake Tahoe in Placerville that we go to. That next time we go up there, if you want to go with us, you can.
Hit us up.
We have some crazy stuff we've seen up there. I'll have to tell you another time, but we have some insane stuff we've caught up there. So, you kind of just explain this. So, what would you say separates your show from other shows? Well, I know you kind of just answered that, but
yeah, well, we try to go for the most notable people we can. So, you know, they call it the UFO circle jerk. We try to stay out of that as much as possible. And what I mean by that is everybody ends up just interviewing each other over and over again until the end of time. And so we try to find people that are interesting and maybe haven't, like I said before, been in the circle of the UFO world.
Well, that was my next question I was going to say is, if you notice, like all these shows on YouTube, for instance, they'll get, let me think of someone that they have on their show all the time. Like Third Phase of Moon, for instance, with Stephen Cambion. He's always talking crap about him. Then Lou from the Lou Reviews and the Celebrity Review, he talks crap about him. And then he'll go over to Stephen Cambion's friends. They'll talk crap about him. Then, what the hell's his name? The guy who had the metal balls from the UFO.
Ross Cohart?
Yeah, they'll talk crap about Ross on 5 different shows. And I start thinking, I'm like, God damn, if you really have no other guests in mind, I was like, either shut your show down or go into Bigfoot or something at that point.
But I got to tell you, I do love watching Steve Cambion sometimes because he is not afraid to be like, so what, like get somebody on the show, be like, okay, so what is this shit about? And like, what are you doing? And who do you think you are? Well, like, he is not scared.
He was the one that told me like, why that was him that did that to me. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's invited us to be on his show. I need to follow up with him, but
he was really respectful to me for the most part. Yeah. But sometimes I felt like he was starting to do the I don't believe you type talk that he does to people.
That's just how he is, I think.
And then the next day I went on Twitter and he was talking to some guy saying I was full of shit and that I didn't know what I was talking about. And this other guy said he knows where the real Ely crash took place. And it was something like Twitter, 5 hours. Huh?
What is your Twitter?
Twitter.com/BFP team. My brother does it. I do the Facebook. He does the Twitter.
Oh, here you are. Oh, yeah, we're following each other.
Oh, already?
Oh, look, I see us on here. Oh, look. See, there we are right there.
Yeah, I was thinking. So the next part I was going to ask you, I'm getting kind of towards the end of my questions here. Sure. I kind of started asking you on email. Have you ever heard of Bell Mountain? Either one of you. Bell Mountain, California. It's kind of by Bakersfield.
No.
You have to drive by it on your way to Vegas.
Okay.
So, Bell Mountain, the way I know about this is my grandpa used to absolutely terrorize my mom about this, like just pick at her and stuff, until where she's like yelling at him and everything on the way to California since I was a little kid. Oh. And he'd like start stomping his feet and clapping on Bell Mountain, like stuff like that. So one day I asked him, like, what the hell? Why do you do that every time we drive by Bell Mountain? I guess he says in the 1950s, I want to say, or the late 40s, there was a guy. He claims that he was either abducted by aliens or had a contact of some kind with aliens by Bell Mountain. And the aliens told him that they would come back in the future and that he needed to go to that spot to see them in the future whenever they came back. So this guy got obsessed with Bell Mountain, and he built like a research station or a house by Bell Mountain somewhere. And I guess he lived his days out till he died, waiting for these aliens to come back out there.
Holy
Guess he
Lord,
never
what a
came.
way.
What's that?
So I guess they never came.
Yeah. So, well, I guess. But so anyways, I thought that would be either a cool location to go film at, whether it be to do like a ghost hunt or even to do like an alien type video. I was thinking I thought you guys were living in Southern California. So I was like, that would be kind of a cool spot for us to meet up one of these days. Or the Bigfoot spot up in Northern California we go to.
Oh, yeah. We're totally down. We love to do meetups.
Yeah, we're about as old as you guys are. I know we're all in like our mid to late 30s, pretty much all of us. Yeah. So, let's see, what's the next one? Okay, so you kind of mentioned Alien Con. So, how was that? What was that like? Who did you meet? I saw there's pictures with you at some restaurant with some people you met at the show.
Yeah.
Like, so how was that?
Total blast, man. It's nice to meet people that you are friends with on Twitter or on social media.
Yeah.
And we were just eating dinner, and this, group of our Twitter friends were like, "Oh, it's the UFO Bros. Finally, we get to meet you guys. Can we, buy you a drink or whatever?" And we were like, "Oh, totally. Yeah, come on. Let's chat. Let's hang out." And it's always good to, like I said, meet like-minded people. We got a chance to interview Nick Pope, Travis Taylor, Giorgio Tsoukalos. Our primary reason for going there, like I said, was to meet up with friends and kind of just be in that sphere. Went and attended a few different panels and stuff like that.
So were you
it's
like
a great
on
place.
The panel? Like you were up on stage and they're asking you
No.
questions?
No.
Not yet.
No. Not yet.
I thought they'd want you up there with that metal piece. I thought they'd like be asking you.
Well, we kind of pulled it out. They didn't know it. We were like, "So, what do you think of this?"
Yeah. So the last questions I have right here. So what's next for you guys? So would you say you're gonna do more videos coming out? Are you? I know you're starting the Probecast ups again, or you kept it going, however you want to word that.
Yeah, we have another TV show thing in the works, but I'm sure you know how that goes.
Yeah.
It's a big carrot constantly dangling. We're staying true with the Probecast. We had to take a break for a while, but we're doing pretty good right now with the guests that we have lined up.
Mm-hmm.
And it just looks like more of the same, meeting people is our big thing now, is going to events and meeting more people.
The last thing I was going to say was, is there any websites you want to share, or any kind of videos or anything like that you want to tell people about?
Well, yeah, you can find
Check
us
us
at
out
Real UFO. Go for it,
Go
Joe.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, you can find us at realufobros.com and at Real UFO Bros on everything social media.
Okay. So, let me see something real quick. I guess I should have put that up at the beginning of the show. It would have been a good thing to put.
That's no worries.
Yeah. So, again, so we talked to the UFO Bros today. We had Emmett and we had Joe on our show. We talked a little bit about what they're into. I kind of rambled on about my Ely stuff.
That was great.
So
Yeah,
I'm going to
check
end the
that
show
out.
for now. I'm going to have Emmett and Joe stay on. Don't hang up or whatever you want to call it. Stay there. I'm going to end the broadcast. I want to show you guys something real quick. But again, everybody, next Sunday, we're going to do our next show. Tune in. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of good stuff. And we'll let you know what next week's show is.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.